The Joker is a movie that was a huge success. We can't really say the same about the second, where only 63% of people thought it was average or better.
You should see it out there. They're all going crazy for you.
I was never interested in The Joker because the way the director talked about it. He saw it as a way to sneak a real movie into the studio system under the guise of a comic book film. Let's make a real movie with a real budget, and then just call it Joker. Not only does that not sound like somebody who's particularly enamored with the superhero genre, but he was just wearing the Joker IP as a skin suit to get people through the door. I wasn't interested in The Joker for the same reason I don't like Daniel Craig as Bond. They weren't Bond films, and this isn't a Joker movie.
Arthur, don't do this to yourself. It isn't you.
So you don't think this is me? Maybe you don't know who I really was.
The director knows this, that's why he always calls him Arthur rather than Joker. And he also said that Arthur is clearly not a criminal mastermind, and he never was. This is a man that used somebody else's brand name to sell them on his own original idea, and didn't have the guts to launch it as his own IP. So what do you get then when you come back at it for a second go, when you want to expand the audience away from the actual fans into a new, more feminine audience, by filling it full of romance and musicals? Well,
I'll tell you what you get. Call the police. Get what you deserve.
And while there is definitely an argument that the critics were unkind to the first movie, you only have to glance at the professional reviews to find a well,
Keep an eye out for you silly racists.
there's so much racism and bigotry in the Joker's first reviews that you'd think Amanda Stenberg and Rachel Ziegler had teamed up to make a media company.
This is talking about code switching, talking about how to be black, how to not be black.
I'm a white Latina. I hold a lot of privilege. It falls on my shoulders to open up the doors. It became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just.
They even contradict themselves as well. It rejects its responsibilities for stereotypical people. Rotten. And then just below it, we've got a fresh one for the New York Times. What the film wants to say about mental illness or class divisions in society is not as interesting as what it accidentally says about whiteness. Ooh.
Eyes are open, the mouth moves, but Mr. Brain has long since departed.
The thing is, though, these are professional critics. Bigotry is basically their job. And their issue is, this one's got Lady Gaga in it, so what are you going to say now? The reviews this time aren't of the same problem as the first one. Although they are altogether more predictable. Gets bogged down in a lengthy courtroom saga. Doesn't do or say anything new. This is Arthur's movie, and Arthur just isn't that interesting. Maybe he would be if he was the Joker. I'm gonna make a story about a normal man who's insane. Look, you really need to stop doing self-inserts in Hollywood, alright? Your life isn't interesting enough, no one cares. Despite its fascinating and complex main character, he cries just like me, for real, for reals. Joanne, I've never seen that name hyphenated before. Titmarsh. Film is ultimately dull and plodding, taking us nowhere, slowly. Exactly what you'd expect from a film that simply doesn't want or need to exist. Demythologizing is either daring or irritatingly smug, but it's definitely not much fun. It tap dances for the majority of its listless runtime, stringing together a series of underwhelming musical numbers that are either too on the nose or too vaguely related to its characters to express anything. Part courtroom drama, part behind the bars romance. I'm genuinely not sure whether it's meant to be the main character that's mentally ill, or what it's trying to make me by the end of it. Oh, let's have a romance as a movie, this'll be interesting for the blokes. Please, sir, can I find out how two degenerate scum fall in love? I've already been watching Galadriel and Sauron. I don't need to watch more. What happens when the worst people in the world breed?
The dwarves are coming! Durin will come. Durin will come. Durin will come. Durin will come.
And loads of critics came to the same conclusion that this is actually an improved sequel. Why? Well, it's meant to antagonize Joker fans. That while some people thought the first movie would inspire real-life violence, in reality, the toxicity it generated emerged as memes instead of movements. And it's this idea which impacted the filmmakers enough to make a sequel. The film seems directly targeted at the audience who are into the Joker, specially designed to antagonize them. Because there's nothing more horrific than generating memes. As Arthur discovers love, he begins to sing his feelings, and Lee soon joins them. This movie wasn't made for me, although to be fair, nor was the first one. It just seems to me that this movie is doubling down on the point that I was never supposed to like them, because this is against fan culture, and toxic fan culture specifically. Do you like things? How dare you? Do you like things? Why don't you like me? You should be liking me. Why don't you like my Screen Rant articles more? It's all just jealousy and bitterness. Lee stands out as the most extreme among them, a Joker groupie creepy, possibly manipulating him to just leech off his image. I wish more could have been done with her. If only a Joker movie would have been more about somebody who wasn't the Joker, Screen Rant would have been pleased. Instead, thematically, it's hard not to see her as a metaphor for toxic fandom.
She's a disgrace.
The Joker has more coherent things to say about fan culture than it or its original does about mental illness, which, for me, makes it the superior of the two. Don't you understand? The Joker was designed to crap on the people that I despise, and that's what made me really like it. Once I saw that in her, I saw it everywhere, and the strangeness of the Joker started to make sense. I couldn't understand why it was rumored to be a musical. Many had wondered why it was made this way. That could hardly be what the supposed target audience would want from a sequel. I can now say that it is a musical, and I think that annoying the stereotypical Joker fan might have played a big part in that decision. The film was designed to be hated by the people that liked the first one because they didn't understand the first one. You weren't supposed to like him in the first one. It was a subversive movie to a superhero genre. Superhero fans shouldn't have liked it, but they did. And so because the creator despised that genre, when you like his movie that you were supposed to despise, it makes him think less of you. How dare you not appreciate my art? It seems like it pissed him off, and so he just doubled, I'm gonna really make you understand how much I hate you now. I'm going to spell out what you should have thought about the first movie. Because the jabs only continue from here. Zazie Betts testifies that people were harassing her and blaming her for the first one. Joker diehards are increasingly associated with psychopaths, and the film empathizes that Arthur doesn't identify with them. This is the actors disowning their own fans. All you peasants are beneath me. No, go and put a tick in the box I tell you to. That's the only requirement I need of you. Oh, and keep giving me your money, obviously.
All of the people were angry.
Those people that we need to educate.
The ending triples down on this. Phillips may as well have been putting the Joker on trial in this, hammering home that a lot of people got his first movie wrong. And this is the thread I most appreciated about the film. What this critic liked is that the movie crapped on its own audience. I'm guessing you're not really a fan of that audience, are you? Oh, all those annoying people that they just won't shut up and listen to you, will they? Their own mind and won't just swallow whatever you tell them. How dare they stand up against your belief system? If only someone could put them in their place, like the Joker. This is what made the film feel far less derivative than the first one. Oh, not another film for those blokes again. If only it could tell them how much it hated them, that would be way more original. Joker caught flack for a scene in which Gary, who has dwarfism, can't reach a chain lock because the entire audience laughed. How dare you laugh at somebody small struggling to do something? That's not funny. Stop it. Somebody fetch him a box. Stop it. Phillips is once again staging a corrective. He's going to preach at the audience and tell you how abominable you are, because Gary's going to testify that Arthur suffered because of him and how much that moment specifically made him feel small. I'm sorry, but if you put a scene in a movie about somebody with dwarfism complaining about being made to feel small, and you don't think the audience is going to laugh at that, you need to stop watching Friends. You really do. You need to watch some proper comedy.
Willow Ufgood here is terrified that one day he'll be discovered as the aging, talentless hack that he really is.
His words are meant for the audience. As much as his scene partner, I would wet myself laughing if this happened on screen. But you made me feel small. You are, though, aren't you, really? That's the main problem with your statement there. A dreary, underwhelming, unnecessary slog. When is the Joker going to get on with being the Joker? He isn't. It was never a Joker movie, and he was never meant to be. The first movie spent 2 hours telling the grim and gritty backstory. Boring, abusive childhood, medical issues, and eventually an adoption of white mace clown-suited new identity. It even showed him meeting the young Bruce Wayne, because just like Cloverfield, we had these random scripts that we knew no one was going to see unless we stuck a brand on it. But now he's co-written and directed a sequel. Shouldn't we finally get to see him planning No, because he's not the Joker. They just want to carry on with more of his backstory instead. This is a fascinating decision, which bravely subverts the audience's expectations. When you go to a movie called The Joker and it's not a movie about the Joker, that definitely subverts your expectations. Just like if you went into a restaurant expecting food and they just crapped on your plate. Oh, but it's really delicious tasting crap. The first half of the movie is plodding lifelessly through his incarceration. The other half is set in a courtroom.
This is the show of legal paperwork,
where they're just weighing up his sanity. That description of the movie is almost custom designed to break me. We're going to say walk around a bit and then ponder his sanity. Oh, you want to know how you avoid both issues? Grow up. Stop worrying about your feelings. The rest of Gotham is barely glimpsed, which, to be fair, nothing about this movie has anything to do with the Batman universe, so it's no surprise Gotham isn't there either. The district attorney argues whether Joker and Fleck are two separate personas, and to be fair, I think they are. Arthur Flek is the character in the movie, and the Joker is a character from the Batman universe. Comic fans will appreciate the detail that Gotham's DA is Harvey Dent. Look, we called this guy a name. That means it's in the same universe now. That's how it works. It just means we have more frustration of watching two different characters who are almost, but not quite, Batman villains. If you're almost, but not quite a Batman villain, you're just a person. And normal people don't make good stories. They make really boring stories because they have really boring lives. That's why they go to the movie, to watch other people do things. So we have Arthur sitting in a courtroom wearing his trademark makeup, and it's like, well, the court wouldn't let him do that. I tell you, this movie sounds like entertainment once every 2 hours. That entertainment will be the adverts before the movie and the credits afterwards. Lady Gaga and Flek sing to each other and fantasize about being in Hollywood musicals. These song and dance numbers are a welcome opportunity to hear Gaga belting out some of the most romantic standards in the American songbook. This movie wasn't made for me. When your first praise of the movie is that Lady Gaga is in it and she can sing romance stories, I think you may have misjudged the superhero audience. You really should have made a Bridgerton movie, I'm telling you. It would have done gangbusters.
You mock that which is sacred.
I mock that which is absurd.
This is a less welcome opportunity to hear Phoenix delivering his own croakier renditions. Great, so now it's bad karaoke as well. Instead of moving the story along as the songs should, they slow it down. We were already talking about how boring the movie was, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, the songs make it worse. It's a disappointing film, but I suspect that's exactly what it's meant to be. I'm sorry. It's supposed to be crap. He's just responding to the way Flek was received by fans. He was always meant to be passive and unfortunate, but some viewers saw him as a revolutionary Robin Hood, striking a blow for the dispossessed. So this time, he isn't taking any chances. What do you mean you like the character? You're not supposed to root for him. I'm gonna really make him crap this time. To be fair, that does actually seem like a person who would have this much disdain for the audience that they're not even gonna give him comic book films. Instead, they're gonna give him a real movie. The sequel has devoted itself to the message that Flek is a wimpy, self-centered stooge who lets everyone down around him. He's a nobody. Well, of course, because now they put in the stronger half. Demythologizing, or destroying a character people liked because you're bitter that they like it rather than anything you'd make on your own. That guess hit anywhere close to home, Phillips? Is either daring or irritatingly smug, to be fair, so am I. But it's definitely not much fun, so am I. Phillips seemed to be saying that if you fell for Flek's messianic self-image last time around, then the joke's on you. Yes, if you went to his first movie and didn't understand how intelligent he was, is he gonna crap on your face this time round? And see what they mean with disdain for the audience. Because this is a theme that goes across the reviews. Did you like the Joker? If so, the joke's on you. It's a middle finger to anyone who sought something meaningful in his saga. Rather than making a superhero movie, instead he put a real movie in there. And people were so thick they fell for it. It's like, well, how else are you going to treat the people you looked down on the first time? You're going to do it again to see what you can get away with. The first Joker had a huge box office and an Oscar. I don't see a similar future in store for the second one. If you wanted a newly minted villain wreaking havoc, well, you're in the asylum and the courthouse with very little happening. A cramped psychodrama, startlingly dull, pointless procedural with a disdain for its audience. But don't worry, it talks about dawning love. The only time love should dawn in a movie is just like it did in the Bond films. At the end, once all the interesting things have happened.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night, sir.
In the months leading up to the film's premiere, it was fascinating to watch the anticipation for the sequel grow among those who had no care for the first Joker. To be fair, I didn't care either time. The promise of Gaga is just that strong. That'll be why I didn't care the second time. That's not my demographic either. Her presence suggested something big and gregarious, more broadly accessible. We're making this one for the girls. Broadly accessible just means we're making it for people that don't care about the movies. If they cared about the movies, they would have seen the first one. It was brought more broadly accessible because we did inviting in those who were alienated from the Joker by his grim vision of lonely, straight male rage. Don't you understand? He had dangly bits and everything. How am I supposed to watch a movie about that? How am I supposed to watch a movie about a bloke? That just doesn't make any sense. It's an unconventional musical sequel that fails to hit the high notes. Startlingly dull, pointless procedural that seems to disdain its own audience. Wouldn't you, though? Put yourself in the director's position. You wrote a script that had nothing to do with the Joker. In fact, you seem to despise superhero movies. You had the attitude that you wanted to sneak a real movie in under the guise of a comic book film. Let's make a real movie with a real budget and then just call it the Joker. When you have this much disdain for comic book films, it's not just the films, the genre that you have disdain for. It's the audience. Put yourself in his position. This genre of movie, this utter crap is just being wheeled out into the cinema, and then along goes the pigs to just eat from the trough. They love the slop. They want more of the slop. We're going to sneak quality into the movie because those peasants over there they won't be able to appreciate my genius unless I do wrap it in the slop for them to eat. It's always like you're giving a dog medicine when you've got to cover it in cheese first. He just doesn't know what's good for him, so we're going to have to trick him. In that situation, of course you disdain the audience. You shouldn't make movies in the superhero genre. You don't like superhero movies. Otherwise, you will always look down on it. You will always feel like you're superior to it. And the people that enjoy those things. This is one of the reasons why the creator of something must represent the audience. He must be one of them. Philips is incapable of delivering on the genre's requisite razzle-dazzle. By the end, Joaquin Phoenix's incarnation of the Joker feels exhausted. Iffy bits of dialogue aren't able to be masked by the strength of the cast this time around. When it's not caterwauling through endless musical numbers, appears to have slipped into an eternal somnolence. Oh, I don't know either. It's a strong desire for sleep. When you read enough of these reviews, you do find the critics like to drag out the odd unusual word just to... Yeah, this is why you can't do this job. You simply don't have the mental aptitude to memorize a dictionary like I do, where the original Joker remains a stunning exception. That rare blockbuster with emotional shading, grown-up themes, and a genuine sense of grandeur. Don't you understand? He was depressed. He's just like me, for real, for reals. This is so grown-up. Wasn't a Joker movie though, was it, love? Get the girl bosses into the cinema. This isn't an encore worth sticking around for, no. It's a cracked jukebox musical that doesn't let the Joker be the Joker enough. The concept is audacious, execution less so, and takes a step back from the danger of Joker. Any more songs and Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga would be starring in an operetta. Interesting notes on the intersection, just from that word you'll be able to picture the person that wrote this review, between love, mental illness, obsession, performance, and fandom. I believe that intersection is at the same point as the people that use the word intersectional. A mostly plodding courtroom drama, and then in a different review, dull and plodding. I think plodding is our word of the day. If he'd made it more like a comic book action movie, and with less singing, this could have been a good film. Alas, it's not. If we'd actually stuck to the genre that it was meant to be in, rather than trying to subvert it because we think we're making a real movie, it could have been good, but it isn't. Seems content for Arthur to suffer without the first film's devilishly transgressive catharsis. The result is resoundingly downbeat to the point of feeling mean-spirited. And even IGN came out and gave it a 5. And IGN scores really need to be put into context. These are the people that gave Rings of Power Season 1 an 8, The Marvels an 8, and She-Hulk an 8. Even the first series of Velma got a 6, but this one's getting a 5. The funny part being, they actually say the sequel is too obsessed with the Joker. Yes, the problem with this Joker sequel is it's got too much of the Joker in it. If only it had more Lady Gaga, I could have liked it. While watching Bridgerton on the side and my second monitor, the first Joker was beloved by many people. It had a lot of fans, and it seems like it just turned its back on him and went, we hate you. This isn't for you anymore. No, we're actually going to try and get rid of you and get the fabled Bridgerton audience. They watch loads of superhero movies. Although, to be fair, they do know a lot about psychopathic men and those in prison. Lots of experience with those. Maybe they will be into the movie after all. Gaga is certainly in it, and she does sing, but she is woefully underused. Couldn't we have had her as the main character? That's why we went there after all. The attention of the woman is fleeting and conditional. Philip sneers at the idea that she could ever love somebody like Arthur. She ultimately comes across as a fickle creature who can't abide the real truth of a man. Phillips wrings nearly every ounce of life out of her, and Phoenix just seems nihilistically checked out, smugly unrefined. A swooning criminal romance really comes across like this reviewer just wanted like some smutty book. Tie her to a wall and get the paddle out. That seems to be where this review wanted it. The kind of pitch. If I had to guess, big fan of The Handmaid's Tale. The ending of the film is the first time anything happens in the whole movie, and it's bound to enrage even those die-hard of Joker believers. It's possible that Phillips is trying to lay waste to the entire franchise, arguing that all of his movies are simply a silly business. That may be the only explanation for why he torpedoes the legacy he created 5 years ago. Maybe he's the true Joker in these movies, torching everything because nothing really matters in the end. Maybe it's just a talentless hack who's bitter because his actual movies nobody wants to see, and so the time he made a success that people actually liked is when he was trying to be subversive of a genre that people actually actually enjoy. Maybe it's the realization that all the talk of, I'm an artist, is all nonsense. And all you do is point a camera at some people lying for a bit. All the highbrow entertainment that you think you're creating is meaningless and nobody likes it. But what they do like is entertainment and escapism. They like the basic stories that you think are just beneath you. And maybe it's a guy torpedoing the legacy he created years ago because it showed him one thing. You're just not as important as you thought you were. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe. More videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.